Hey, hello guys and welcome in a new video. We start a new video about Ansible, and in this video, number 24, we are going to talk about roles. So what's a role? Before you can subscribe to my channel to not miss the next video, you can like or comment this video. You can find some documentation about roles. So to do it, you can follow this link. So what is a role? A role can help you to group some actions or tasks with the same aim, with the same goal. And you can use role to help you to define specific variables for this aim. And a role is a directory, and a role helps you to group some files used by this task. Why you must use roles? You must roles to share your code, because the role is the main shared element with Ansible. You have the Ansible Galaxy community where many people share their codes, and you can find some roles into Ansible Galaxy community. When you go in Google site, you can search Ansible Galaxy and you find this website for this community. Okay, and you must use roles to work with many colleagues, because you can use Git to Git a role, and this is better for versioning and to explain to your colleague how you work, and you can push some element and can revert some change if you don't like this change. And a role can be reused. If you create a role, you store it into a Git repository, and if another person, another colleague want to use this role in another playbook, it is possible, and role is very, very important to do it. But you don't have a rule on the parameter of a role. You can do only one task in a role, but you can do many and many tasks. Okay, for example, you can create a role to install a database engine, or to install and set up a web server, like in the previous video, or simply to do a backup, or to do whatever. Okay. But a role have a skeleton. In the best practice, you must use this skeleton for better understanding. Okay. How to organize your workflow with a role? It's better to create one repository per role, okay? And if you want, you can check into the Ansible Galaxy website. You find some example, and you can see a role is shared with its repository. Okay. This is in the Ansible Galaxy community. You can find many GitHub repository. Okay. When you organize your team, you can define one release manager for a role, and you can define other developers, and these developers do merge request or pull request if you use GitHub or GitLab software. Okay. And in your workflow, you need to use. It's better to use and to do some tests of your role. This is very, very important. And you can see the video number 14, or in next video we see how to use molecule. This is a software to specific to test your role. Okay. And when you create a role or many roles, you need to define some rules between you and your colleague, and for developers, for example, to set the name of variables, how you name your variables, and to document your roles. Okay, this is very, very important. The skeleton of and the structure of our role. This is simple. We need to go into a directory, like here. So in our directory, we go into this directory maybe, and ANSIBLE. Okay. This is the directory of the last video, the 23 video, and in this case, what we do by default, we create a roles directory, okay, like here, and we can use the command line with Ansible Galaxy binary, and we can use init option, and with init option we use roles directory and set the name of our roles, like here, my role. I run it, and you can see this output. Role, my role was created successfully. Okay, if I go into roles now directory, I can do a tree, and we can find some directory. This is a simple tree with one level of directory by default, and in each directory, maybe not in files and templates directory, but in other directory, we have always main.yml file. Okay, all file in our directory, but not files and template directory. We have YAML file. Okay, so the first directory is tasks directory. This is very, very important. By default, when you run a playbook, and if this playbook use my role, you enter in your directory and go by default to tasks, and by default you run the main.yml. This is the role entry point. Okay. After we have the default directory, default directory here, and we have the main.yml directory. Main.yml by default is an empty file. Okay. And in default, you can set the default value of our variables. Okay, and vars directory, like here, you can set other variables, because we have the precedence of variables, and with precedence, default directory is default variables often be overwrite by other definition like inventory variables, for example, or if you set a variable with a command line, you overwrite the default variables. But when you set a variable into a vars directory, you can't overwrite this variable easily. Okay. We have handlers, so you can check the previous video, the video number 23, where we have seen how to use handlers. And this is in this directory where we put our handler. Okay. We have templates, where we store our templates file, our Jinja templates file. This is only .g2 file. Okay. And files. This is a static files. For example, not binary, but if you have a simple file, but when you don't have a dynamic and a variable into this file, you can put your file into a files directory. The files directory. The meta directory here. This is specific when you want to share roles in Ansible Galaxy community, or if you have some dependencies. And test here, tests. This is specific to test, for example, with a molecule. This is very, very specific, but it you don't need to set this directory. Okay. So I think you can go in this website. So this is my browser. So you can find the Ansible Galaxy website, and if you want, you can search here. You can search Nginx, for example, an Nginx role, and we have many roles about Nginx. And if we check, so we can use the first Nginx core. And if you want, you can find many things like details here, which version and which OS, for example, here, and the license. You have the README, how to use this role, and the content, some element about this role. So you can check the content, and after it you can go into the repository. This is a GitHub repository, and in this case this is not a role, sorry, this is a collection, but we haven't seen what is a collection. If you want, you can so we can click on our I go into another example, so search Nginx here, and if I check, I want to find Nginx, not a collection, this is a role. Okay, role, and here we can see many roles because this is a collection. Okay, so if we click on this role, for example, and click on repo, we go into the GitHub repository. here this is a lamp box, and we can find some roles. But this is a collection again, I think. So underlying ANSIBLE roles. Okay, it's not very. This is not the better example. PHP roles, for example. Okay. And if I go, yes, this is a collection again. Sorry. Maybe I can filter. I want a role, clear filter, best match, not, and type. Okay, roles. I want only role. Okay, yes, this is better. Getting guy is one of the better people into the Ansible community. You can go on GitHub repo again, and you can find a role, and in this role we can find our skeleton with task, and in task you can find some files, YAML files, our main files, and the main files use some other file, and you have variables or default here, and you can find main.yml with default variables, and you have vars here with specific variables, and you have Debian variables, for example, template here, and handlers, and I think it's all for today. Thank you for watching this video, and don't miss the next one, and I say you goodbye.